Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the Wasp 40th Anniversary Tour, which has kickstarted in LA, and, they've been touring all around the West Coast so far, and it's very exciting, of course, very newsworthy. Wasp returning to North America. I'm very excited. I have tickets to see them in a few weeks, which is just awesome, but, I want to talk a little bit about the events that have transpired on this tour thus far, the claims Blackie Lawless made as compared to the actual product, so just in general, wanted to share my thoughts and my reaction on what I've seen thus far from the Wasp 40th Anniversary Tour. I should preface this video here by saying that I am a lifelong Wasp fan, one of my all-time favorite bands. Blackie Lawless, an extremely talented vocalist, super underrated singer. Wasp's entire catalog has been pretty underrated in my opinion, and, The Crimson Idol, my favorite album of all time, so I am a diehard Wasp fan. I want nothing more but for Wasp to continue to tour in North America, but, some of the criticisms I'm going to be making here in this video of the band so far on the 40th Anniversary Tour come from the best of intentions, so, don't take this the wrong way. I do love Wasp, but these are just my opinions. That said, I've been a little disappointed with the Wasp tour thus far in North America from what I've seen online, and, I know, of course, what you see on, a cell phone recording is not necessarily indicative of the actual concert. I will be seeing Wasp in a few weeks, like I said, but from what I've seen online, I'm pretty underwhelmed, to be completely honest with you. First of all, let's talk about the set list here so far for this tour. This has been a pretty consistent set list thus far. If you don't want it spoiled for you, stop watching or skip over this part. I would hate to spoil this for anybody, but if you've already seen the set list, you'd know that the pretty consistent set list for, just about this entire tour thus far here has seen the medley to kick things off, that being On Your Knees, The Flame, The Torture Never Stops, and Inside the Electric Circus. Then they go into Crazy from Babylon, Love Machine off their debut, Wild Child from The Last Command, Heaven's Hung in Black from Dominator, you have Hellion / I Don't Need No Doctor, The Idol, Chainsaw Charlie, Murders in the New Morgue, you have Blind in Texas, The Return of Animal as well, The Real Me, and I Want to Be Somebody. So that's your set list here thus far, and that seems to be the set that they're using the most consistently thus far. So, it's a pretty fine set list, right? You have some essential Wasp tracks on there, but if you remember back when this was announced, Blackie Lawless promised that there would be a lot of great deep cuts here in this set list, and tracks that maybe have not been played live in a long time. But when you have tracks like Crazy and Love Machine and, Hellion as well, it doesn't really seem like they're playing a lot of new stuff. The Real Me, tracks like that, I'm pretty underwhelmed. I was expecting some more deep cuts here in this set list. Maybe a set a little bit more indicative of the 40 years of Wasp. Maybe one track from every album. I understand if Blackie doesn't feel comfortable doing something from KFD. That's understandable. But, something indicative of the full 40 years. Not just, the early years and then, some stuff from their more recent works. But, as far as I'm concerned here, the set list is a bit underwhelming. And I definitely would have put together a more complete set, contrary to what we got. We do have The Return of Animal, which has not been played live, and I believe more than 15 years. That's really cool, but I'm not quite sure if Animal is quite the novelty that Blackie thinks it is. You can't build an entire set list around Returning Animal for, one or two verses before switching into The Real Me. So, while it's cool to have that back in the set list, in my opinion, there are some much better Wasp tracks that have never seen the light of day in a live set that definitely do belong here, in my opinion. Now that we've addressed the set list, let's talk a little bit about the stage production here and the stage show. Blackie had promised when this was first announced here, he had said, and these are his words, the stage was going to look part 1930s carnival, part Road Warrior, and part voodoo ceremony, and I've seen the pictures of the stage. It looks nothing like that, Maybe a bit like part 1930s carnival, I'll give him that. There are some circus banners, but aside from that, it's just the circus banners and some screens. Really nothing more than that. He also promised it would smell like a 1930s carnival, which, from what I've gathered from other people's accounts, really doesn't smell like that, which, not quite sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's not what Blackie had said. And he'd also alluded to the return of the stage show here, but there really is no stage show whatsoever. I'd understand, Blackie, he's almost 70 years old, maybe not going to go back to the stage show from the 80s, but, there's no more drinking the blood, there's no raw meat, anything like that, which, may be unsanitary in the 2022 environment, but basically what I'm trying to say is there was no effort here to create a new stage show or replicate one of the older Wasp stage shows, so that's pretty underwhelming as well, and definitely should be brought to light. Another thing I think that's worth, bringing up here is the fact that the band are charging $350 for a meet and greet with Blackie, among other things, right? You get to take a picture with Blackie's mic stand, right? I think you get some deal when it comes to the merchandise, so there are a few other perks at play there, but $350 for a meet and greet is a little ridiculous in my opinion, and definitely did, put off a lot of Wasp fans who, maybe in the past were not accustomed to paying those kinds of prices to meet Blackie. back, several years ago, I'm pretty sure Blackie used to, just meet fans for free after the concerts. Those are the stories that I've heard. So now for them to be charging $350, I get that they're back in North America. They're tapping into that market once again, and bands need to make up for the lack of, playing for 3 years because of COVID. But it just seems a bit weird that he'd be charging that much money here for a meet and greet, amongst other things. And maybe it's just me. I've always been a little bit weirded out by meet and greets. Paying money to meet somebody always made me a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to, stuff like that. But I don't know. It just seems to be a little bit too much money to be asking here, and people are going to pay it anyway. Lifelong diehard Wasp fans. I'm a diehard Wasp fan, but for me personally, it's just not my kind of thing, and I was a little bit put off by the amount that Blackie was charging for this. So be sure to let me know, your thoughts on that down in the comments below. And perhaps what is most egregious, in my opinion, is that Blackie and the band have been, falling back on using a backing track here. It seems like they're playing to the song that's actually being, played over the loudspeaker into the arenas. The problem here and why it's so obvious is because the band are playing slower in real life now than they used to. So the song is pretty out of sync with, what Blackie's actually saying. Blackie's getting lyrics wrong and exposing the track being played behind him. And I don't think Blackie's lip-syncing or anything like that. I really don't. I think it more has to do with the speed at which the band are playing now, and maybe by piping in the actual track that they're playing behind, it creates more noise. It gives the song maybe a little bit of a better flow. I'm not really sure. I'm not a musician. I'm not part of the production crew, but it just was I was very taken aback when I heard that, because it shows that there are games being played here. It shows that it's not an honest concert 100%, and, for bands that are, using these kinds of tactics, I really have never been in support of that. I've been very critical of Paul Stanley here on this channel for doing that, and while Blackie Lawless is not doing it to that level, it definitely is disappointing to hear a backing track constantly exposed here because the band are playing too slow, to actually match the speed of the original recordings that are being played in the arena at the same time. So I definitely disagree with Blackie and the band falling back on that for whatever reason they feel is necessary, but I guess it is what it is. But for me, that's the part that bothers me the most. I know that I'm not the only one who feels like the W.A.S.P 40th anniversary tour has been lacking a bit in the clips that we've seen thus far, even though it is great to have the band back. I was just hoping for a little bit more here from the band, especially after all that Blackie had promised the fans. And, on top of that, though, I do want to talk about some positives, and the biggest positive here is W.A.S.P are open to touring North America once again, and that's the best part. That means that maybe I have more opportunities to see the band, one of my all-time favorite bands, again and again in the future. Of course, with bands, that are Blackie's age now, you don't know how many times you're going to get to see them live anymore, so any opportunity you get, you definitely want to jump on that chance, So for me, I'm very underwhelmed and a little bit disappointed, let down by what's transpired so far on the W.A.S.P 40th anniversary tour, but I'm very glad that they're back in North America, and I'm super optimistic that we're going to get some new W.A.S.P music, maybe in 2023. I know Blackie's working on a really cool box set as well for the 40th anniversary, and is currently writing an autobiography, so there's a lot to be excited about if you're a W.A.S.P fan. But I did just want to make this quick video here sharing my thoughts on what's gone on so far on the W.A.S.P anniversary tour, what I've seen live, what I've seen from some clips online, and, not really too pleased, although, like I said, it's great to have the band back touring North America. So that wraps up this little rant here, talking about what I've seen thus far on the W.A.S.P 40th anniversary tour. W.A.S.P fans, again, I'm a huge fan of the band, and I'm very excited for the future, right? I can't wait to see them live in a few weeks, but, from what I've seen so far, what we've all seen, I'm a bit underwhelmed. Let me know if you agree with me down in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below. We are less than 50 subscribers away from hitting 1,000, and be sure to turn on the bell for notifications so you never miss a new upload. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.